like to open this lesson up with the prayers. Kanaha Malaka, Yahavaha, Sabayaba, Layura, Yawa, Vayakha, Latisma. The angel of Yahweh encamped round about them that fear him, and delivered them. Yatisra, Samabaka, Tatisra, Shalomama, Shalomama, Kaya, Baka, Batabaka, Batachawa, Bayahavaha, Ataya, Ata, Kaya, Bayaha, Yahavaha, Tiswa, Ra'af, Walayama. Thou will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusts in thee. Trust in Yahweh, Yahweh's everlasting strength. Ura waka taha babaka, wabara waka taha batis ataka. Blessed shalt thou be when thou cometh in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. Yatis Yaba rakaka Yahawaha wa Yasham raka. Yara Yahawaha Panayuwa Layaka Wayacha Naka Yasha Yahawaha Panayuwa Alayaka wa Yashuma Laka Shalavama. Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. It is said that how things are made upon this earth and how we move makes a difference in how we acquire our peace. Yahweh God has brought this great and wonderful creation as it is mentioned in Isaiah. In Isaiah chapter 45, he begins to explain to us something that is very necessary for us to understand so that we won't make a mistake in confirming a absolute truth. And that truth is, how does Yahweh God, how does he do what he does? And to make sure that we come to a true understanding of that, it says in Isaiah 45, verse 23, I have sworn by myself, the word is gone out of my mouth in righteousness and shall not return, that unto me every knee shall bow, every tongue shall swear. So he says his word, every word. And we go to Isaiah 55, verse, Isaiah 55, verse 11, says, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I send it. So Yahweh God is moving, literally moving this by his word. Even in the book of the Psalms, Psalm 107, Yahweh says, Psalm 107:20, he sendeth his word and he healeth them. So this by and delivered them from their destruction. So by Yahweh's word, he sent his word out and it delivers them. So as we follow the word of our God, Yahweh God, down, we understand that he is moving everything by his word. You understand? So as we understand the word of Yahweh, we understand our freedom. It says, Psalm 33, verse 6, by the word of Yahweh were the heavens made, and all the hosts of them that breathe by the breath of his mouth. So he said, by the word of Yahweh were the heavens made, and all the hosts of them by the breath of his mouth. So Yahweh God is moving all of this marvelous creation and everything that cometh out of his mouth. And he goes on to let you know his position as God. One thing I love about Yahweh, he tells you his position, and therefore you may misunderstand it, but it is written of his position which he stands. He says, Yahweh is righteous in all his ways and holy in all of his works. And that is Psalm 145, verse 17. In other words, there's no action of Yahweh that is not right. And therefore, when we go on to give verification of the truth of the word of Yahweh, Yahweh God has told us that, when we look at Proverbs 16. In Proverbs 16, Yahweh God tells us that we must be aware of certain circumstances that may not be true. Proverbs 16:25. There's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. He said you have to be very careful, because there's a cunning adversary in the earth. And he's very cunning. And the thing about it is, he's not so easily understood, but he is easily misunderstood by those that do not understand that he has disguised himself. And he has made circumstances that might look right, that isn't right. And as it goes on, even in the New Testament, where it says, is truth strangely mixed? We must look for the truth. It says here in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. And that's a very interesting statement, because he said, your circumstances that you wrestle with is not physical, but it is a delusion that keeps you from knowing the truth, because it disguises itself. It takes on a counterfeit presence that if you're not very in prayer and asking Yahweh God for guidance, you will be deceived, because it is that perfect in its counterfeit. And when we look and we read, he says, it's not flesh and blood. And therefore, if it's not flesh and blood, you have to ask yourself, how do you determine its presence? And therefore, when we look in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 12, for such as are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Do you understand? He's an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. So they have transformed themselves into the angel of light. And it has gone on even in the book of Revelation. Revelation 12, he says that, 12 verse 9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. And it was so important that he be cast out into the earth. When they cast him out, he said, therefore rejoice ye heaven, and ye that dwelleth in them, because they had cast. But he said, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. That's the book of Revelation. He says, when they cast him out of heaven, they rejoiced. But he said, man, you people in the earth are into something. They said, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he tried to take over the circumstances that was in the realms of heaven. And he was cast out because he know that he has but what? A short time. And he is so reckless, he is so reckless with the creation of God, that Yahweh God has said that he has to cut his time short, because he's reckless. He's reckless. He's reckless. And therefore he doesn't care about anything. All he wants to do is to destroy. And that's why it says in Matthew 24, verse 22, and except those days should be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. Because he said, but for the elect shall those days be shortened. And who's the elect other than those of Yahweh? Israel is the elect. What is the elect? Those that have been chosen. You have been chosen. You are the elect of the living God. And the thing about it is that you have to know what position you play in all of this. You, because of you, and Yahweh knows, if he doesn't make it, if he don't cut it short, no life. Because the devil is so well organized against the inhabitants of this earth that they cannot fight against him. That's right. They are helpless people on this earth. They are that well organized, that well polished, that they have the ability to end all life on this planet. And it says, as we go on, to understand our position, and we should. It's important that we as Israelites understand that if Yahweh don't save us, he said, because in the book of Isaiah 45, verse 4, so for Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my elect. So we are the servants of Yahweh, and we are the elect of Yahweh. And therefore, because we are the elect, he has shortened their time. And therefore, what does he say in Isaiah? And he also says in Isaiah 42, verse 1, behold my servant whom I uphold, my elect, in whom my soul delight. So the point about it is we are the elect of Yahweh. And Yahweh has told us in Isaiah 43, verse 1, but now thus said Yahweh that created thee, O Jacob. See, he is our creator. And he that formeth thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine. We belong. We are the possession of Yahweh. And what Yahweh said, he said, I am a jealous God. And his jealousy encourages within him to protect what he's jealous over. And he said, I've loved you with an everlasting love. And as it goes on to Isaiah 44, yet now hear, Jacob my servant, and Israel whom I have chosen. Thus say Yahweh that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not. He said, don't fear. He doesn't want us to fear. He don't want us to worry about tomorrow and fear. He wants us to stand strong in our commitment to do what is right, because he is our Savior and he will save us. We don't have to worry about that. I would like to continue to read in Isaiah 41:12. Thou shalt seek them and shalt not find them, even them that contend with thee. They that war against thee shall be as nothing, and as a thing of naught. For I, Yahweh thy God, will hold thy right hand, saying unto thee, fear not, I will help thee. Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel, I will help thee, said Yahweh, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. So Yahweh God, he is the Holy One of Israel. And as he says there, fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am Yahweh thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. And he goes on to say, thou whom I have taken from the ends of the earth, and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, thou my servant, I have chosen thee, and not cast thee away. So we have not been cast away. We have not been cast away, as it was mentioned in the book of Romans. And that's why I say the New Testament is truth strangely mixed. Even in the book of Romans chapter 11, when it said that Yahweh had cast away his people. And he said, nah, he has not done that. And he said, when Paul, being a Benjamite, and we read it from Romans 11, verse 1. And I said, has Elohim cast away his people? God forbid, for I am also an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. God has not cast away his people which he foreknew. So he has not cast us away, and he's told us. And that's from the old to what they call the new. And therefore, in cross-reference, you can make sense of things, because remember, Paul wrote 14 of the epistles. They are epistles, which is Greek for letters. Mm-hmm. They're not scriptures. Mm-hmm. And therefore, scriptures. No, they're letters.
They're letters.
That's right. There's a difference.
You call them epistles.
That's what they are.
They are epistles, not letters.
Epistles are letters. They're Greek.
Epistles are letters.
That's right. So, it is, Yahweh God has told us how to stay out of trouble. Mm-hmm. But a lot of us don't take it for certain. One of the things in the New Testament, and if people applied it, they wouldn't get in trouble. Mm-hmm. And he says, in 1 Thessalonians, he told him, he said, prove all things.
Yahweh was talking to who? Israel?
No, he was telling them, well, when that epistle was written, mm-hmm. he was giving them instructions because we know that we want to believe people. We want to, that's just the normal position that human beings have towards other human beings. We want to trust. Mm-hmm. But what is mentioned is that we should prove all things.
Give me an idea what you mean.
In other words, what prove means simple. In other words, if you hear something and that you're going to apply your life and well-being of it, then make sure it is safe. Make sure it is true. It says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 24, prove all things, hold fast to that which is good. He said, prove it. Are you certain that you're an Israelite? Can you prove that you're an Israelite by Scripture, by the things that it is said? When you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, does it depict you or does it depict everybody? Because if it depicts everybody, if the New Testament does not describe you, that you could know that you are the people of the captive. You are a captive people in the Western Hemisphere of North America. And when we go and see, Yahweh has told us what to expect and how to overcome these things. We always say in Isaiah, mm-hmm. and I like to read this because we are people remember, we're not lost anymore once we understand who we are. We're not lost. We have been found.
Is that a piece of paper right now?
No. We're not a lost people anymore. Mm-hmm. Yahweh God has definitely brought us to a reality of our truth. Mm-hmm. And I love to read these things because it makes sense to us that we will have confidence in the words that is written on these pages. Mm-hmm. And it says, but Zion said, Yahweh has forsaken me, and Yahweh has forgotten me. We said that. And therefore, it's not true. He said, can a woman forget her suckling child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget thee. Behold, I have graven thee upon the palm of my hand. Thy walls are continuously before me. So Yahweh God has told us, and he has mentioned some beautiful things in the way that we must go. And he has established us in righteousness, and the cup of trembling has been taken from us. And he has chosen us in the furnace of affliction. Why? Because we are what? A rebellious, stiff-necked people. And Yahweh said, the only way I can bring them back, I will clean them from those that are rebellious. And I will get the best of them, because what I gave them was to only bring the best out of them. So he has allowed this thing that we would have children. And those that would see greater through prayer, and that the Spirit would anoint them to understand that their salvation can only be in obedience. So Yahweh God has, as he says, he said in the book of Joel, he said, and he makes mention about pleading for his people. Yahweh is pleading for his people, and we should know that he's not pleased how the nations have dealt with us. And they have heaped forth the punishment. He said they have heaped forth the punishment. But Yahweh God is going to plead with the nations, and he's going to bring them down in the valley of judgment, as it says in Joel 3 verse 2. And I will also gather all nations and will bring them down in the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them for my people. See, all these adversities that you see that they come, this is Yahweh pleading, say, you know, you got something that I want. You got something that belongs to me. So they're having tornadoes. They having all kind of things they never had, you know, and they blaming it all as the weather. No, that's the hand of Yahweh. But you have to remember this. When Yahweh came into Egypt, and this is Egypt, it took them a little time to get the understanding that this was the hand of Yahweh beating on them. They didn't come to it right away, you know. They kind of slid by it and hoping that it would go away. But as it persisted, the magician said, you know, he said to Pharaoh, he said, this is the hand of Yahweh against us. I mean, the Egyptians told them. The magician said, no, this occurrence is not normal. You know, we're being dealt with. Then it says in Exodus 8, verse 19, then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of Elohim, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as Yahweh had said. So even the magicians told him, he said, this is not a normal occurrence. This is the hand, he said, the finger of Elohim. So we're in Egypt again, because that's what it says. So it's going to take a little time, but Yahweh is going to beat on them until they recognize that something is not right about this. Something is a story being told, and Yahweh he's doing it gradually but steadily. And and as he says, and this is why we have to read this book, knowing the truth of the book. And the truth of the book is that, and I like to read so you'll know, that we're in Egypt again. And being that we're in Egypt, and this is in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. We ain't went into Egypt before with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. No man can buy us out. Our Savior is only going to come. And as he says in Malachi, he makes mention, as we go through the book, it tells a complete story, and it's one story of a people that had failed to keep the commandments of Yahweh God. And therefore, Yahweh God has knocked on their door continuously to let them know. And he has said this in such a beautiful way. Micah chapter 2, verse 12. I will surely assemble Jacob, all of thee, I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as a sheep of Basra, as the flock in the midst of their fold. They shall make great noise by reasons of the multitudes of men. So Yahweh said, I will surely assemble, O Jacob. And who is he going to assemble? The remnant. It's not about everybody. Mm-hmm. He said, though Israel be as the sands of the sea, only a remnant. Mm-hmm. And how are we going to leave this place? Mm-hmm. We're not going to leave this place the way people think we're going to leave. Mm-hmm. You know, they think we're going to fight our way out. This is not our fight. That's just it. It's not your fight. It's Yahweh's fight. And as he said, you know, going back to making you know how he's going to do it. And if you read the book, he'll tell you. He said, I'm going to get them out of this place. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about how Israel is going to leave. I guarantee you, they will leave. And you may say, well, what boats they going to have? We don't need no boats. Yahweh going to dry that land up, all that water. And one day you're going to look, and there ain't going to be no water there. So it's important. Well, you asked how, I'm telling you how we're going to leave this place. We're not going to leave it.
There's water here in America, you talking about?
It ain't going to be no water where them oceans are, because land is going to rise up.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, land is coming.
The Atlantic and the Pacific?
Man, he going to move all that water. He going to move all that. He going to
move all that water?
He going to move all that water. How you think we going home? How you think we going home? We going to be able to walk.
Some people say we going on the chariots, on the UFOs.
UFOs? Well, I'll say this. I don't know nothing about no UFOs. All I know is this, that according to this book that I've read, Yahweh God is going to do a marvelous work. And that work that he's going to do, because remember, all nations are here now. All of them have been brought down in the valley of Jehoshaphat. And Yahweh is pleading for his people, that people say, well, where are they going? They ain't got no place to go. But Yahweh God has put the world on fire. And if the people would humble themselves, as he says in the book, he says, and I like to read in Zechariah 4, verse 6. Then he answered and spake unto me, saying, this is the word of Yahweh unto Zerubbabel, saying, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, said Yahweh. So it's the spirit. And Hosea, he says, Hosea chapter 1, verse 7, but I will have mercy upon the house of Judah. Why? Because we're Judah. We're in the neck of our enemy. And I will save them by Yahweh their God. And I will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, nor by horsemen. We don't have to worry about how we getting out of here. Man, get some guns. It ain't gonna be no gun. We don't need no guns to get out of here. Because I'm gonna show you how we leaving. We leaving here when it's time. And ain't nobody gonna be stopping. Why? Because fear is gonna be in their heart. Yahweh gonna put fear. In Isaiah chapter 40, it said, comfort ye, my people, said your Elohim, speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she has received of Yahweh's hand double for all her sins. See, it said, comfort
double.
You received, it said, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished. In other words, why are you getting involved with, we going to beat on white people and we going to do this? That has nothing to do with you. You have to come back in righteousness. This is between Yahweh and them. What army you got? You ain't got no army. So it's best to do what he said, comfort ye, my people. It says right here.
Lady down the arm.
Yeah. Come together. Just come together. And he said in Jeremiah 31, and to know how this is going to go. Let me tell you something. We are the light of the world, and therefore it says Jeremiah 31:10. This is what is going to happen in time to come, because the word of Yahweh God doesn't fail. And we live on his word. His word is what makes us have life. He said he did this, he said the word and everything came into existence. So we are people of the word. We are people of the spirit. We are people of the light. We are a light people. We are a Ruach people. And once we understand that, a lot of things will be a lot more easier for us. So he says, hear the word of Yahweh, O ye nations. See, he's talking to the nations now. Declare it in the isles afar off and say, he that scattered Israel will gather him and keep him as a shepherd does his flock. When they know that when Yahweh start after them, they say, oh man, you got to get that. He's an Israelite God. No, he has to take him and send him back to his country. He can't stay here because he is a servant of Yah. And they're going to round, the people that stay, they're going to round them up. And they're going to send them back. The nations are going to round us up. It said, for Yahweh has redeemed Jacob and ransomed him from the hands of him that was stronger than he. Therefore shall they come and sing in the heights of Zion.